4 million acre-feet of storage in a single year. And the driving force behind that collapse is not a single bad season. It is the worst snowpack on record, feeding the worst sustained drought the region has seen in over a millennium. 2 years ago, the picture looked completely different. Lake Mead had climbed 36 feet off its all-time low, boosted by a record snowpack winter at 158% of normal and a landmark water-saving deal among the lower basin states. That deal was backed by $4 billion federal dollars from the Inflation Reduction Act. Tribal water agreements, particularly with the Gila River Indian Community and Colorado River Indian tribes, added 11 vertical feet of reservoir recovery. Arizona slashed its usage by 32%. California hit its lowest consumption since 1949. All of that produced a 36 feet rise. The math was clear even then. 4 to 5 consecutive good snow years would be needed to truly restore the system. The basin got one. Then the snow disappeared. Quick pause. If this story got to you, know that this isn't even the worst one. I documented every major dam collapse in one place, so you don't have to wait for the next video. Links in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Okay, let's continue. The water that fills Lake Powell and eventually reaches Lake Mead begins as snow in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah. Every spring, that snow melts and flows downhill through streams and rivers into Lake Powell, then through Glen Canyon Dam, down through the Grand Canyon, and into Lake Mead. That spring runoff is the heartbeat of the entire system. In 2026, the heartbeat barely registered. The Bureau of Reclamation's data shows that total water year inflow to Lake Powell is forecast at 3,501,000 acre-feet, 36% of the 30-year average. The critical April through July runoff window came in at roughly 1,080,000 acre-feet. That is 17% of normal, not a below-average year. The worst spring runoff in the modern record. Colorado's state climatologist, Russ Schumacher, watched the numbers fall all winter and into spring. Statewide, stored snow water on April 1st averaged just 3.3 inches, 22% of the 30-year average. The previous worst year on file was 9.1 inches in 2012. Of 64 snow core sites across Colorado, with at least 50 years of data, 60 recorded their all-time lowest readings. Peak snowpack hit on March 9th, nearly a month ahead of schedule, at just 51% of the average peak. Then the melt began, pushed by a March that shattered temperature records. Colorado recorded its warmest March in 132 years of tracking. Burlington hit 99 degrees, breaking the state's all-time March high. The heat did not just shrink the snowpack, it changed what the moisture did. Ben Livna, a water scientist at the University of Colorado, found that Colorado's precipitation through January was actually 89% of normal, close to average. But the warmth turned it into rain instead of snow, particularly below 8,000 feet. Water hit the ground, soaked into parched soil or evaporated, and never built the frozen reservoir the system depends on. A dry year is a setback. A warm year that turns snow into rain is a pattern shift. And 2026 delivered both at the same time, in a combination that has no match in the historical record. The damage was not limited to Colorado. Southeastern Utah recorded just 22% of average stored snow water, the worst in the region. The Animas and San Juan headwaters, which feed directly into Lake Powell, came in at the mid-40s% of normal. NASA satellite imagery showed snow-covered area across the entire upper basin at roughly 40% of typical early March coverage, the lowest since satellite tracking began in 2001. Every one of those basins feeds the same two reservoirs, and both were already running low before the snow failed. Lake Powell sits roughly 300 mi upstream of Lake Mead on the Utah-Arizona border. As of the same July 27th update, it stood at 3,522 feet, just 23% full, within striking distance of its all-time record low of 3,519 feet set in April 2023. Jack Schmidt, the director of the Center for Colorado River Studies at Utah State University, published an analysis showing that the combined storage in Lake Powell and Lake Mead has not been this low since 1957 during the construction of Glen Canyon Dam, before Lake Powell even existed. He called it a milestone in the history of water storage in the Colorado River Basin. The federal government responded with the same emergency tool it has reached for twice before. In April 2026, the Bureau of Reclamation authorized the release of 660,000 to 1 million acre-feet of water